3, 2, 1. I think we're live already. Hey friends, welcome to the AI Academics podcast. I'm your host, Professor Dr. Lennart Nacke. This is the show where my co-host Vugar Ibrahimov and I geek out about the latest AI developments without getting too scientific. We want to help you get the valuable AI insights and the actionable strategies that actually matter. So grab a coffee, like this, tune in, and let's chat about why AI isn't the job-stealing monster that everyone thinks it is. Before we dive in, if you're enjoying the show, just make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so that you never miss an episode. Now, let's get started. Thanks for showing up today. Vugar, how are you doing?
Hey Leonard, great always when I am chatting with you about this stuff, the AI stuff for academics. So good, how are you doing? How was your week?
Very good. It's been a busy week in the world of AI. Last week, we were kind of starting to get into the study and learn feature from ChatGPT. And what we've seen is basically a huge struggle with people, teachers specifically, that are using AI for their day-to-day work, and that are seeing basically a decline in the human ability to work with AI, or in the human ability to do critical thinking as students work. See, there's my critical ability. It's gone. It has nothing to do with not having enough coffee. But yeah, so basically people are facing a setback, or as teachers are facing a setback, as students are lacking that critical ability to engage with content, as they're just turning to ChatGPT to get their responses for everything. And then ChatGPT's response was, hey, we'll just create study mode. Very interesting way to kind of address that. Vugar and I are addressing this with, finally, we have a waitlist page for you, which is, I guess, Vugar, you got a point up on your side, which is this wonderful QR code with the AI summer camp that we're running. So you can already pre-register for our newest webinar, which will go live in a couple of weeks. And we're really excited. We're currently still working on the landing page, but we do have the wait list. So put your emails in there and sign up if you're interested. It's completely free. It'll get you on the wait list for the AI Research Tools Summer Camp that we're running this summer as the summer is ending. But yeah, so let's chat a little bit about this study mode thing that we've seen, that I started discussing. And I'm just going to create a new window that I can share here, that we can just dive into study mode a little bit. Yeah. Vugar, any thoughts about that? Have you tried it?
Yes, I tried it and I also watched some of the people who are trying it and I also read a little bit about it.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, it's a nice way of addressing the concerns that many students and the teachers at schools and professors at universities, lecturers have. But I'm not sure if it is the 100% the solution to the problems, but it definitely, I think, takes the right direction, I believe. But of course, if you are using ChatGPT, you will still have the freedom rather than using this kind of mode, instead of using the usual ChatGPT. You have to select it from the drop down menu there, and if you select that, it's kind of, I think, rather than giving you the answer to your question right away, it kind of little bit push you to think the answer, or if even if it gives you the answer, it asks you additional questions, or it tries a little bit you to push you you understand the topic a little bit better, which I think, why not? This is a good call. And students, I think we personally talked about it. Students, yeah, schools have their own concerns, but students also have their own concerns. For example, in Germany, at some pilot schools, they are having this study buddy, which is for the secondary school students. They develop this AI where students can use this AI tool. But at that, also in other countries, the students have the kind of concern whether school also supervising the students, the lecturers, the teachers supervising the students by these tools, because and also the main concern is, if I ask a question the wrong way, will that affect my evaluation? So it's kind of it's a double-edged sword, so to
Mhm.
speak, and both parties have their own concerns. And let's see how this new mode of ChatGPT will address that.
I think the interesting thing is basically it's really just a system prompt, if you want, that's happening in the background there. And so here I told it like ChatGPT is just so many emojis and everything. It's really annoying me a little bit. So I guess I got to just update my system prompt to do that. So I told it, don't call me buddy, don't do emojis, whatever, and keep it simple and practical. And here it is, basically particle physics. I said I'm a game developer, so I kind of use this in my job. So let me know a little bit about this. And basically, here it's not much different from a regular ChatGPT response. It's just it is more in tutorial mode. It's really trying to teach something, and basically the way that it would actually be done in school is it would look at you providing a result, and then it wouldn't actually give you the answer right away, but it would let you kind of think through this, right? And this is where it gets really really interesting. Basically, here it breaks it down into little steps, which is kind of nice, right? Like study of the tiniest building blocks of the universe. If we're looking into particle physics, smaller than atoms, and it uses analogies here that I would be able to understand if I were a game developer, kind of like the pixels in your screen, particles build up all the matters, and so forth. But that's really not, I think, how a game dev would kind of look at this. They would look at this more in terms of particle physics of some of the graphics elements, but then I would have to clarify that here, and it would be a little bit different. But it does give you some of these descriptions that are important to learn that. And then it really relates it to where you're at. Here's basically like, okay, standard model that we have kind of a periodic table of particles, which is quarks, leptons, and force carriers. And please, if you're a particle physicist in the audience and you're like, yeah, I don't know, let us know. None of us is a particle physicist. This is not our field of expertise. So, I think we're keeping a pretty high level here. So far, this seems to check out. But if you're feeling like, something's a little bit off here, feel free to comment and let us know. As always, in these podcasts, if you're watching us record this live, we are more than happy to field some questions from you as you're coming in. So always, always, always feel that you are free to comment at any point in time. So we're always happy to work with the comments. And this is the right ticker for the comments. Send us your questions in the chat. Okay. So that being said, this is a very, maybe it's even a more elaborate way to do this. Now, you could, of course, change your models and you could go with 03, or if you're like paying for the pro plan, you could even go with 01 and have a little bit more of a complicated model. But what we'll usually see is, a student probably going there and just asking for a straight on answer. Like, what is 5 times 5, right? And this is essentially where so here I didn't enable study mode. So this is actually nice. We can compare. So if you don't enable study mode and you're just asking 03 is smart enough to do this kind of simple math. But then if we enable study mode and we ask the same question, let's copy this, put this into study mode, and let's see what happens. Will it just give us the straight out answer, or will it go into study mode and trying to tell us? And here you can see 03 is smart enough to go, okay, there's study mode rules. There's a question. I cannot give the answer right away. So what study mode then does is, let's reason it out together. If multiplication is a shortcut for repeated addition, 5 times 5 means add 5 to itself by a certain number of times. So again, ChatGPT turns into this lecturer that's trying to help you understand this stuff. And then it gives you, the user, a question. And that's not a bad way. Like, that's the way that the system prompt is framed here, is basically, okay, so you do the thinking. I don't do it for us. This is really what's needed, I think, for students specifically in school that are just going to ChatGPT as their answer machine. Now, the problem is it's voluntary, right? So you still get a lot of students that probably just still use it as a shortcut and kind of hand over their brain and just get like, okay, you know what, I just want the answer, I don't want to do the work. But if you actually had a student that was smart, wanted to do the work, wanted to learn, this would be a great way to learn, because now the question comes back, how many 5s would you add together here? I would add together 5 5s, right? Like that would be the response from a student that's actually kind of thinking about that. And now you can find the total. Now, can you find the total when you add those 5 5s together? Yeah, and then, you know, in theory, you could then work through this. 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 5 is 15, plus 5 is 20, plus 5 is 25. You know, this is kind of how you, like, sort of a preschooler would probably try to explore that problem, would try to kind of walk themselves through it. And here, ChatGPT, our cool tutor, is like, yeah, perfect. Those 5 5s add up to 25. To lock it in, and now I kind of just want to make sure that you've actually done that learning. So to lock it in, picture a little 5 by 5 square made of equal-sized blocks. How many blocks would that grid contain altogether? And this is nice because now it like taps into the visual areas of your brain. So smart students can looking at, oh, so we got 5 down, 5 across. So yeah, 25. And it's just like a nice way in your head to visualize how this 5 times 5 idea would go. And now it's basically confirmed, okay, the student kind of gets how multiplication works here, 25 blocks, fill that 5 by 5 grid. So multiplication is just repeated addition, or an area. If you picture a rectangle, that's kind of cool. So now it kind of goes directly into this geometric understanding. 5 rows of 5 give 25 altogether. And now it really doesn't stop, but it's like in one sentence, how would you explain to a friend what 5 by 5 means? So now it would add me to replicate that.
Lennart, maybe you can ask it like,
yeah,
can you explain it in image? Or I wonder if it can create like these blocks, 5 times 5 blocks.
Sure. Yet, can you please explain this to me more visually?
Yes.
Like using images. Let's see what it does, right? Like, let's see if it can invoke DALL-E or something like that and go more visual. And this is interesting, right? Like with things like voice mode and like, more visual things, this would actually be very appreciated, I think, if we could find a way for the AI to help different types of learning approaches that are out there for people that are thinking differently about this type of learning. So I think that's like a nice way to explore that. Now, it seems, if we're watching what it's doing right now, it seems like it kind of hit a bit of an impasse there. And it's like, I'm not going to just create the images. I'm going to just go to the internet and look at the images, which, by the way, if you're one of those people that are not Googling anymore and you're just ChatGPTing your answer, please don't. Please still, do some actual research, finding results, and multiply that and use that to fact check your sources. So again, here it does the same thing. Basically, it's like not sure, so it goes. And again, this is the O3 model, so there's a little bit more thinking involved that's happening. And then it finds basically the right images that would help you, right? And this is basically a Google image search, or like not necessarily Google's algorithm, but like an image search that's happening here. And that's kind of a neat way, because it's now gone through its reasoning that it's done before, which is like, let's explain this with some sort of matrix here. And so let's go back to these squares, and here's a way that you could look at these squares and the way that you would actually explain that in school. And it's a really kind of a cool visual. Not that it created it itself. Miss Giraffe actually created this. Go Miss Giraffe. And that's that. But it finds it for you, and it really helps you go through the process and understand that. And then again, it asks you questions for you to become more active and to work through the results yourself. And that's kind of cool, I think. It's just a nice way for it to get us into this process of thinking about the things that we want to think about. And you can do it with other more complex tasks. The interesting thing is, let me just see
And it's not only for like secondary school students, it's like college students. And if you are writing, like, say, the essay, or you want to contemplate on it together with ChatGPT, it is, I think, still could be useful, because I watched OpenAI's video where they are promoting this. They're just college students. Two of them were in the show, who were explaining their experiences with the ChatGPT. And
so one of the interesting things is that this system prompt actually leaked, right? So it's pretty much here. So I copied it over. So you have the system prompt. The user is currently studying, and kind of emphasizes the rules. You got to get to know the users. You got to build on the existing knowledge. You got to guide the users. Don't just give answers. You got to check and reinforce. And you got to vary the rhythm in terms of the questions and the answers. And do not do the user's work for them. That's like one of the main instructions that goes into study mode here. And then basically allowing the AI to respond in a certain way, and keeping like a warm, patient, and plain spoken approach here. And so that's what I did. I basically recreated study mode in Claude, and then we can go with the same thing. 5 by is 5 by 5 equal to 25, right? So we could go into that, and let's see if Claude can do the same thing. And the interesting thing is, if you give those instructions and you create a Claude project, and again, if you're not sure on how to create projects, if all of this is like completely new to you, again, we have the QR code up. We'll be running the AI summer camp, where we're explaining how projects and gems and all this other stuff works in some of these LLMs, how you can create your own projects. And it's, of course, specifically relevant when you come across some interesting system prompts or some processes that you want to do repeatedly. And projects are just the perfect way to do that. So you can do that in any of the major LLMs. You can do it in Claude, you can do it in ChatGPT, and you can do it in Gemini as well. And as we can see here, this is a wonderful example where we can put some of these system prompts to work. So I've now put Claude into study mode, and that's kind of cool because it reacts in a similar way. But it goes almost philosophical. It goes a little bit deeper. Hi there, I'd be happy to help you with your studies. I'd love to know a bit about you first. It's like, okay, so where ChatGPT probably just knows about the user from the existing chats, here you actually have to kind of explain yourself. But ChatGPT did ask you at the beginning as well, like, are you a student, or are you in school, and like, how does that work? So it just gets to know you a little bit. And then, what does multiplication mean to you? That's a bit of a philosophical question. And how would you describe what 5 by 5 is asking you to find? And you could just say, I'm a high school student trying to understand math. Boom. And then, yeah, cool. And then, yeah, it's a little bit more emphatic, the way that Claude responds to you compared to ChatGPT, and says, now back to your question about 5 by 5. You mentioned you're trying to understand math. Let's make sure we're building on solid foundation. When you see, what do you think that's asking you to calculate? Think about what multiplication represents. What's actually happening when we multiply two numbers together? So it seems like, even with the system prompt, Claude is a little bit of a stricter teacher here than ChatGPT. ChatGPT was kind of like, okay, I'll pedagogically work you through this in a little bit more of an emphatic manner, whereas Claude is really more, okay, let's talk about the science of mind first. And this might be because I don't actually know what my general project instructions here, but I might have told Claude that I'm a professor, so maybe it's trying to understand that I'm trying to trick it or something like that. But it's definitely, like, for a high school student, okay, now I need to explain myself when I just want to get to the answer. Makes it like the barrier of learning is a little bit higher here. So, what do you think that's asking you to calculate? And think about what multiplication represents. It probably wants me to add numbers a couple of times. Well, forgot an S there. Anyways, so yeah, so here now it's happy that you're kind of getting what it wants you to do. How many times would you? And then you could just be like, let's say we're trying to, hey man, I'm just trying to do my homework. You're not being super helpful.
give me the answer.
I'm challenging my best high school student right now. I don't know if this is how they would talk. It's clearly a case of like that. And then it's like, okay, now it's getting a little bit more casual. Okay, I hear you. I know it can feel frustrating. Okay, so let's move through this quickly together. You said multiplication is repeated addition. That's exactly right. So 4 or 5, you'd add 5 times. And okay, so here it actually gives you the result. And so you're just like,
But not the result. It gives you the.
I guess it
let's
gives
say,
you the
yes,
step, but
yes.
it's still, I think it's still doing a little bit too much. I think ChatGPT was like really following that a little bit better and saying, okay, I can't really give the results away right away.
But did we push ChatGPT to this extent, like saying that,
I
hey,
guess we didn't really. You're right.
yes,
So, and also I think for ChatGPT, we weren't a high schooler, we were like a game developer, so like different
yes,
setups, right? But anyways, it is quite interesting. So yeah, it doesn't really give the reveal. So it still doesn't give the answer. So I guess you're right. So it still doesn't give us the answer. Can you quickly go at this? What do you get when you add 5 5s together? And so now it instead of giving the answer, so I guess it's right in terms of how it acts through that. Instead of giving the answer, it's now prompting me to do the thinking. So now I need to give the answer. So I guess, yeah, objective achieved. It made me think. So with the system instructions. So good job. I just did it in my head. Man, that was hard. 25. I wonder if any high school student actually like does these types of interactions. This is how it would go if I go back to high school. Isn't there an Adam Sandler movie where he goes back to high school? Anyway, so you got it. 25 is exactly right, and you did that mental math yourself. Good on you. So you just used the concept repeated addition to figure out the answer. So now it's like encouraging me, and that's great. But then it's basically what ChatGPT is basically like validating that I've understood it. That doesn't seem to happen here with the system prompt. So here Claude seems to be like, okay, we figured out this problem. Let's solve more problems together. So you can see there are nuances. I think that's like an interesting way to test it. I set this up in Gemini as well, but I don't want to just talk about study and learn mode today the entire time. But I think that's really interesting to kind of see how this study mode is approached differently. Vugar, where do you think this could help beyond just high school math and other things?
I am not sure if this is for the questions like what is 5 times 5? Because
Okay.
if
Yeah.
you are asking, let's say, early age student at a secondary school asking ChatGPT what is 5 times 5, you
Yeah.
just want the answer. And I am really hesitant if those age students could manage to ask further questions like you ask, like you did here. So
Yeah.
because if that early age student can do that, I think he or she wouldn't ask the question, what is 5 times 5? So asking the, let's say,
Fair. Yeah.
the complex questions, if you can manage asking complex questions, I think it shouldn't be very difficult for you to manage to come up with the result what is 5 times 5. So I think it's the study mode is for more complex tasks, more complex like math problems, or not this simple. So at least because, and I think it's not the. If, I just realized it. It's not for the students who are studying at the secondary school. Maybe I am wrong, but my impression is that because most of those ages students cannot ask complex questions. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. So basically, they need to learn how to ask the questions first,
Yes,
maybe. I
or
think so.
ChatGPT
Yeah.
maybe should be more. So I just thought about myself how I would explain this question, then the answer to the, let's say, 5 or 6 age student. I would try like to come up how many fingers do you have in your one hand, and now let's try how to try figure out how many fingers you have in your two hands, and let's add your friend's fingers to that. So I
Yeah.
would expect at least maybe ChatGPT can do that. I don't know that, but I think you have to ask ChatGPT right in the beginning, explain this in more creative or better visual way that I can understand as a 5 or 6 year old student. But if I can ask this question, then I should be able to come up with the answer of that simple question as well. So I think that the problematic part for me is there. It's not for the simple tasks like this
Yeah.
one. It's for more complex tasks, and I think rather for more college students.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that as like a way that it would be more helpful
Or,
for people
as you
in
said,
that.
we first have to teach the students asking more creative questions, like
Yeah.
different, like paraphrasing their questions or asking totally different questions many times in order to come up, rather than seeing the full answer right in the beginning, just pushing ChatGPT as well. But who wants to do that? Imagine
Yeah.
you are studying something and you don't care about pushing ChatGPT and asking ChatGPT to be more creative. You expect ChatGPT to be more creative because it is your problem. You want to have solution for that. And I think maybe it can be more creative or maybe more suggestive or explaining more, like as I said, how many fingers we have in our one hand. Now
Yeah.
let's think about how many fingers we have totally. Then 10 add your friends. So that way would be more, the better way to explain to the early age students. But for the college students and later age students, I think it's useful.
Okay. Yeah. One other thing, this was really nice that we kind of went through all the study and learn modes. But one other thing that just came out is Claude Opus 4.1. I think many people are already talking about ChatGPT 5 coming along. And that's really quite interesting, right? So I think what we're seeing now is Claude. I think Claude, it was last weekend that they sent an email to all of their users complaining. And I noticed this myself too. When you're using Claude during certain times of the day, you would constantly get system outages, as in you couldn't access the service and it would just give you an error. And apparently, the grapevine on that is that OpenAI behind the scenes was just running a 24/7 API call to train GPT-5 on Claude Open. It's like the AI wars are unbelievable. So they sent like a user notice or something like that, updated the API terms that people cannot 24/7 access the model anymore, and that is quite interesting. Oh, I actually saw we got some students. I missed that completely early. We got some students about the study mode on X. So here's a feedback from Cookie Lady about my students using AI to produce a whole literature review. Is there a way for them to use this for a lit review that's useful but not doing the whole thing for them? The lit reviews are full of hallucinated garbage. Yeah, absolutely. So for the Cookie Lady, I can tell you that in our AI summer camp, as well as in our already existing AI Research Tools webinar, which now is a good time to pop that onto the screen if anyone's interested. So we already last year did a 3-hour webinar with 46 slides and in-depth explanations of different research tools. And we are covering Site AI, Consensus, SciSpace, and other tools, Litmaps, and other tools that are like really useful for doing literature reviews and are actually made specifically for the purpose of literature reviews. So I would definitely not recommend to let any of the AIs do your lit review. There's too many hallucinations. And specifically, and this is something we talked about in previous episodes on the podcast before, do not use the lowest tier models. I think that's your biggest issue with a lot of these. If you use the lowest tier models, you're eventually going to end up with a lot of problems. And unfortunately, that's probably what you're seeing with a lot of your students in that case, is they're using basic beginner tier models, and they're basically getting the worst of the worst when it comes to producing a lit review. So definitely do not use it for lit review. And even for the ones last week's episode, definitely check that out too. So last week's episode, we also talked about some of the newer tools that are out there that are more researchy, that are also allowing you to create better meta-analysis. So in some fields that actually works quite well, but not in all fields, right? And so there's definitely some of the issues attached with that. So yeah, definitely don't recommend using any of the run-of-the-mill LLMs to do lit reviews, specifically in this case for your students. There are tools that assist. The word is on assist. They don't do the lit review for you. And unfortunately, some fields, the tools are getting pretty good. So people are, of course, trying this out. And, this is a whole epidemic in academia where we're just seeing more garbage being published. And that's, again, really sad. It's something we talk about on LinkedIn quite a bit, in terms of that not really giving you the kind of things that you would want, right? Like people are publishing for publishing's sake, not for innovation or creating actually good research. So that's a huge problem separate from that. And then Lisa asked, will it read it aloud to you? So Lisa, if you're using it on your phone and if you had the study mode enabled on your phone, then yes, you can actually go through this with the voice mode enabled. And that's kind of a nice way to do that. For me, unfortunately, I'm more of a visual learner. So whenever I do stuff on the phone, I'll get started, but eventually I'll end the voice chat at some point, and then I'll just go into the chat and type in the rest. So definitely something to consider there, but it's neat to know that this actually works. Okay, so here we got Claude Opus 4.1, again, related to my message. They had to change the things, and they're basically in a release war. So this means 4.1 got pushed last night. So we will see GPT-5 by next week. I think it's going to come really quickly. And of course, the competition is high. They want their model to be good. Where Opus is leading right now is, of course, in the space of code and creating code and writing code. So if I select Opus 4.1, I say code me a basic or program a web-based Pong game using React. Let's see if we can one-shot this, if Opus 4.1 is that good. And then it goes to work. Now, we already know it likes to use React. The thing is, if you're using Claude still has this big advantage that it lets you create artifacts. As you can see here, it creates the artifact, so it creates the code right for you. So you can see it write the code, and of course you could go in and edit the code as well. And if you know how to set up React, you could just take that code and run it on your own server. But what you will see once it's done, and we've shown this before, is of course it takes the code and then it will create a visual artifact. So if this, and you can see it writes, right now it's looking pretty promising. It's writing all the functions. If you're not familiar with this, Pong is a very simple game. It's actually used in a lot of research studies as well because of its simplicity, to test reaction times and test saliency of interaction and other things. So in a Pong game, you have these two paddles and you have the ball in the middle, and so you move the paddles and you're trying to hit the ball and avoid to miss the ball to reach high score. I think that was the original instructions for Pong when it came out for arcades in the 80s. And here we go. This is a one-shot Opus 4.1 game, and this is actually impressive. Like, I've definitely done this before in the past, and it's getting really good in terms of it's actually giving you the instructions right now. So got to do the up and down arrow and start the game. And oh my God, I actually one-shotted Pong. This is amazing. Let's miss. Wow, even the high score, I didn't even prompt for that. Even the high score is actually working. And it has an AI opponent. So it, like it's beating me. I need to pay attention. So when we did this for the first time, it was always like you had to reprompt and you had to kind of say, no, I need you to do this for the artificial intelligence. I wonder how good this is. Probably a perfect opponent. No, it's not going to miss the ball. So yeah, so whatever. Yeah, so we might have to reprompt to make the AI a bit dumber so I actually get to win, because otherwise it will just always perfectly hit the ball and I will just lose. Okay, but this is impressive for a zero-shot prompt. And wow, it even has a goal condition. What is even happening? It has a goal condition and says AI five shots on goal, it's 1. And I did that with one prompt. So did I just vibe code? Is this what vibe coding is all about? This is what
exactly. And maybe a couple of words here from my side, Lennart. I really like these artifacts of the Claude AI.
Yeah.
And the best way was what I use it. Let's you read 20, 30, or let's say 50, or even 100 pages document you read, or it can be a book, and you upload it and ask Claude AI, create a quiz on it, like multiple choice questions on it. And it can, I will show you one of how you can create the best quiz mode of artifact in our AI summer camp. You can scan the barcode here. I will definitely show how you can create, maybe you or me, we will definitely show how you can create a quiz, a nice quiz, like 20, let's say 20 questions, multiple choice questions. If I pick up a wrong question, explain why it is wrong. If I pick like a good, the right answer, just count it. In the end, evaluate my whole knowledge base and suggest which areas I have to develop more. So I think this was one of the best ways, in my experience, to use Claude AI, the artifacts. And of course, for fun, I have already created some games as well, like very simple ones, like the 2048 game. Like you just add numbers to themselves, and in the end, you have the biggest. So in couple of seconds, you can create your own game. But if you
Couple of
are,
minutes,
yes,
but still, yeah.
yeah, and if you can, so we are definitely not a programmers. We don't, I actually, so personally, I don't have the enough
Yeah.
knowledge to, I just,
I mean, I used to be, I studied computer science, but
yes,
that's been a
yeah, you
long time
definitely
ago.
have more in
Yeah,
comparison to me, but still I can, like, you can even create a simple website by adding simple games to your website.
yeah.
So that's very nice of Cloud AI.
So
But
I,
you
of
can
course,
do this with ChatGPT as well, no?
you can do, yeah, actually, we could do, let's do a comparison of this zero-shot prompting. The thing is, because ChatGPT doesn't have the artifacts, right?
Artifacts, yes.
So where's my study mode again? It's gone now. Okay.
Maybe we can try it
Oh, here's my
another
study
time,
mode. Okay.
or yes,
So yeah, if you use 4.0 and then you do something like this, and I think you could try Canvas or you could try agent mode actually.
let's do.
So let's try agent mode. Web-based Pong game. Okay, let's just try to do it with an agent. That's going to take forever though, but that might be able to get it done. But again, like a lot of the times it'll get it done, and it'll still rely on you exporting it somewhere and then putting it up somewhere and doing all of that stuff. Why did this light just turn off? Okay. Okay, we have a malfunction here. There's not enough power coming through. Anyways, so yeah, so one of the things that you will then have to do is you have to still go in, test it, and get it done. So yeah, I think what a lot of people already know is that Claude right now is just a little bit better for coding. Like it's still the gold standard for people that do vibe coding, for people doing Cursor or Windsurf. They usually use the Anthropic AI and use that model to do this type of coding, whereas the other one isn't. And now I've created the educational version for you, Vugar, because you said, what if we made this an educational game? And of course it's possible, right? Like you can gamify this thing as like, here I said I want an extra condition whenever I'm scored on. I want basically answer some writing questions and see if I can, yeah, so I was scored on and it instantly asked me a question to win back my point. Save yourself, answer this question. So which uses then versus than correctly? She is taller than her brother. She is taller than her brother. She is taller than her brother. Oh man, okay, this is a little too simple. She is more tall than her brother. Okay, so we know that then with an A is a comparison question. So B is the correct answer. What? Ball reset? That's what I want to hear. Okay, and so I'm back in the game and I can, again, try to win against the AI here, but it's still too good. Why is it so good? And does it use the friction points? No, it's actually, yeah, I think it's really a perfect AI. Yeah, it will not miss the ball. So I could, of course, fix that with a follow-up prompt and just say, hey, the AI is too good. It also needs to eventually miss the ball. But here we go. Another question, which uses who versus whom correctly? Who did you give the book to? Whom did you give the book to? Who did you give the book? Whom you gave the book to? This is tricky. What do you think?
yes. Who did you? Whom? No, I think, in slang,
Good. It's
you can say all of them true. But who did you give the book to?
so here, and
Whom?
that's the tricky part. So whom in this case is the actor. So I don't think that's correct because it's
No,
acting. And whom you gave the book to. So to is basically the
I
thing
think
that
this
defines the whom. So I would say
A or B.
that, but I was wrong. Whom did you give the book to? Well, I was wrong. And the next one is,
Which
which
sentence?
sentence uses the semicolon correctly? I love pizza. It's my favorite food. I love pizza is my favorite. I love pizza. It's my favorite. Okay, so this is a little bit too simple. So here it's
Yes.
basically two sentences, and then we're correcting that. I gotta go over that other question because that seemed like I didn't read that quickly enough. Anyways, so it's quite a nice way to kind of test your knowledge, and you can, of course, you can go back and you can try to really work on some of these things. You can work, like what Vugar said, you could have a book that you have or some other bits of knowledge that you have available that make this quite interesting. And so it's just a nice way to do some vibe coding and get some stuff done and make that interesting for you.
Or if you
Okay.
are learning a new language, like
Yeah, or if you, like this could be an interesting thing. So we could also do some language learning. The thing is, I think the way it works best is if you actually have the educational resources yourself, because I do feel if you leave like the correct, incorrect answers just to ChatGPT, there might be situations where you might still end up with hallucinations. So again, like if I had sort of a question answer database, I would of course try to make sure that I vet the questions and I understand the questions, and that kind of becomes interesting for us to understand. Okay, so clearly human versus AI, human has lost. I have lost against the AI in multiple ways. It has beat me in Pong, it's perfect. It's beat me in the questions. And so what else did we have? Oh yeah, the other thing that I wanted to chat about, I'm going to just stop sharing this, and then I think our time's up as well. One more thing that came out that I think is interesting is actually, yeah, maybe I can share this as well. Here we go. So another thing that I read was basically that Google Gemini is integrating with Notebook LM. So that essentially you can then work with Notebook LM inside of Gemini. And that's, again, a really cool development here. So now you can basically use those notebooks and use it together with some of the Gemini insights. And that seems to be an interesting thing, specifically for academics that are using Notebook LM quite a bit and are kind of working through Notebook LM as an insight tool, a tool that allows them to explore several different things about this. Another thing that came up is Grok's, like whenever we talk about Elon, it's just something upsetting. So Grok has a spicy mode, and we talked about, some of the weird stuff that came out through Grok. And here, basically, they're not doing anything against this instant nude deep faking that can go on with Grok's spicy mode. Which is a problem. And we did have a full episode where we talk about the dangers of deep faking and why that is so concerning as again, like it enables bullying, it enables other things. We had this story from the New Zealand politician that was using this as well to kind of draw some attention to that. And that is a little bit concerning. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, and then we're wrapping this up, is also the release of the free GPT model that you can now run on your laptop, gpt-oss, which is OpenAI's first open weight model in 6 years. And it's actually interesting if you're downloading it, if you're playing around with it, if you're one of those people that use LM Studio. Again, we will give you a quick intro to LM Studio in the AI Summer Camp. Check out the QR code up here, which in the past has been something where you download Llama or some of the open models and you run that locally on your computer. which again is great if you're doing more sensitive work and you don't want to upload something in the cloud and you don't want to risk the AI being trained. And Vugar, as somebody that works with legal documents, is very aware of some of the dangers that come with that, and it's really related to using AI more responsible. So it is interesting that now for the first time we can download an open AI model, and we can work with that. And if you have a good enough laptop, you can run it on your laptop, and you can get it done. The interesting thing is, just keep in mind in terms of the parameters that it has, right? So it has different variants here, and of course I cannot get this because anyways, it's limited. But yeah, what it says here is basically that you can see that it's the first open weight model in 6 years, but it also needs 16 gigs of VRAM to run, and it's kind of close to the existing O4 model. And I think that's really something that is quite interesting about this story, that it is not the full model. It's really more like a smaller model. But it is something that I think is interesting to see here. And if I click on this, I should be able to. Is that going to lead me to the right one? Yeah. So here you can see that you can download this on Hugging Face. So if you ever done any sort of LM stuff on like using open models, and Hugging Face is your go-to site, and you can get it from there. And it's interesting, I think, because it allows people to play around with stuff more. Of course, the interesting thing will be, I wonder if Perplexity is going to be one of those that uses it and puts it on their server as well, and just kind of hosts their own version of it, just like they did with DeepSeek when that came out. But it's definitely something that is quite interesting, as it allows us to toy around with some of these models a bit more. And for research, of course, it's interesting because you can run some of these things on your own server, on your own computer, and just explore a little bit more than instead of being constrained by the model when it's running there. Yeah, that was that. Any thoughts on that, Vugar? Let's see if our Pong game is done.
As definitely, I agree with you that it would be very nice. Let's say if you have like this power locally on your computer, rather than uploading your document to some cloud or to any companies, running locally would be great, of course. But there are already, as you said, like Llama and many others. We
Yeah.
already, I think, tested some of them in one of our very early episodes. I think maybe it was even last year. I don't remember very well.
Yeah.
So locally running is definitely good. Yeah, as I said, for if you are like a man who is busy with the finance of the company, or as a lawyer like me, you are busy with sometimes a very confidential documents. It's definitely nice, and that's why the like big four consulting companies, they have already started since the beginning developing their own let's say tools which is powered by artificial intelligence, will be available to their, let's say, employees at their companies. Like I think I told about you, the Harvey is one of the good ones now, developing very fast, and PwC and others developing their own tools now strongly. And that's, yeah, it's kind of nice from OpenAI giving this option to everybody that they can install and use it. I would personally prefer using it locally on my own computer or notebook rather than uploading the document with confidential information on it. Yeah, cool one.
Yeah, I think we're at the end. I mean, I'll pop this in there. If there's any more questions, feel free to leave some. We'll definitely check our live streams later. If you're interested in any of that, if you're completely new to AI research tools, we do have the recording, and you will get a special offer, of course, for the AI summer camp as well. For now, we have the How to Use AI Research Tools webinar, something where we teach you some of the basics of understanding how some of these tools work. One of the things that we are most excited about, though, is to really be starting this AI summer camp. So we're taking registrations. The link, again, is on the top right there as well. If you want to put your name on the wait list, we'll make sure that you'll get access to that. And I'm also going to send you some cool posters if you put your name on there. So that's always a bonus. Okay, so that was it today for another episode of the AI Academics. Lots of stuff happening in the AI space. Really cool to be able to just vibe code something in a part of this. So
you just created a game in a couple of seconds.
Yeah. There goes like an entire term worth of teaching. Again, like it's not, you can still teach people how to create those games. But I think it's interesting for someone like me that has to teach art students how to do computer science. I don't think it has ever been more empowering for designers than it is right now. And I think I mentioned that before in another episode as well. Like I'm not for using these tools in high school too much, even though the adoption is the highest, because it does prevent you from actually learning how to do some things by hand, and you still have to do that. There's no shortcutting it. But if you already know how to do the thing, but you just don't have the technical ability to do some of the things, I think AI can be super powerful because it can really help you build these things. You might not necessarily want to become a coder, but you want to practice your design skills. In the past, that was basically impossible. You would have to do a board game or something like that. Now you don't have to do that anymore. You can basically go back and forth in a chat, and you can vibe code fully interactive games. And with Claude's artifacts, you can also actually just create a hosted URL where somebody else can just test that game and check it out. And that's very interesting. It's a different skill set that is, becoming popular there. But it is really empowering, I think, for some of the students that are not so technical. So that's a nice thing to see. Anyways, thanks so much for tuning in today and spending your time with us. Thank you, Vugar, for making time again today. Always a pleasure to check in with you and see what you're up to. If you enjoyed... if you enjoyed this episode today and you want more content like this, there are 3 quick things that you can do to support the show. First, hit subscribe in your podcast app so you never miss an episode. It takes just about a second, and it makes a huge difference in helping others discover our show. Second, if you found value in today's discussion, please leave a rating, a review, or even a comment on YouTube or LinkedIn or wherever you're watching this. Your feedback helps us improve the show and helps new listeners find us. Finally, connect with us on social media, where we share AI insights that you won't find anywhere else. Thank you so much for tuning in.